That is the catch-22.
Yes. Well, good afternoon. We're so glad to have you here on today's Lunch and Learn for Leaders and those who want to be. I know it is a super sunny day today. I thought for just a split second about playing hooky or figuring out how I could move this setup outside, but then it would just be blinding and nobody would be able to see. Plus, my landscapers are working outside and we would have the lawnmower going in the background. So here we are. We are gathered today, and we're going to talk about the importance of boundaries, especially boundaries and the importance in them so that you can maintain work-life balance and emotional well-being. I want to thank you for taking time to join us. Today, we're going to explore the importance of boundaries and maintaining work-life balance and emotional well-being. And I'm going to provide some practical tips for setting and communicating boundaries effectively. So let's start by defining what we mean by boundaries. Boundaries are guidelines, rules, or limits that we set to define permissible behavior or permissible interactions or how somebody treats us and their actions in various contexts. They serve as protective measures to safeguard our physical and our emotional and our professional well-being. Maintaining healthy boundaries is especially crucial for leaders across various fields. Now, professionals in leadership roles face unique challenges as they're responsible for guiding their teams and achieving organizational goals while managing their own well-being. It's quite the juggling act sometimes. Striking a balance between these demands is essential to prevent feelings of overwhelm and stress, which can lead to burnout. And last week we talked about burnout. But by setting clear boundaries, leaders can ensure that they're able to provide effective and compassionate leadership without compromising their personal health and their emotional stability. Clear boundaries help delineate the line between professional responsibilities and personal needs. Now, this distinction is vital in any leadership role where the pressures and demands of the job can easily blur professional lines. Boundaries allow leaders to protect their own time and energy, ensuring that they have the necessary resources to meet both their professional obligations and their personal requirements. I was talking with a client the other day, and they were struggling because one of their workers is not operating at their highest level. And we were digging into it a little bit more. Why do you think that is? Is there something going on in their personal life? And the conversation was, yes, there is something going on. They're a full-time caregiver for their dad. And the dad's health has been declining, becoming more of a demand. And so, of course, there's going to be that consequence of high demand on the outside impacting the effectiveness of what's happening in the workplace. And so boundaries help us to make sure that a person has the right and the enough energy emotionally and mentally and physically to be fully present in both circumstances, either professional or personal. This balance, it not only enhances the quality of leadership provided, but it fosters a sustainable and a fulfilling career to the leader. We don't want to burn out our people. And so if we can help them maintain boundaries, if we can help them set up some healthy boundaries, we're going to be able to keep them longer because they're not going to be burning out. Maintaining healthy boundaries also promotes a positive work environment. When boundaries are respected and upheld, it encourages a culture of mutual respect and understanding among staff and leadership. When that happens, that builds to trust, and it leads to better communication, reduced stress, increased job satisfaction, all of the things that we talk about that are so important for employee engagement and addressing issues like employee turnover and some of the retention stuff that people are struggling with. Ultimately, clear and consistent boundaries are a key factor in creating supportive and effective organizational culture, benefiting both the leader and the teams, right? Because when you have a leader who's committed to setting healthy boundaries, they're setting an example for their team and allowing their team to also set up healthy boundaries. And when everybody is living in a place where they're operating at their best, it's a win-win all the way around. So by integrating these practices, leaders can create a more balanced, respectful, and productive work environment. This approach assures that both personal well-being and professional responsibilities are met, leading to a healthier, more sustainable career in leadership. So let's talk for a few minutes about the different types of boundaries. What are some different types of boundaries that you think of when you hear the word boundaries?
Well, I mean, of course, personal and professional for sure, but also too, one of them would be how friendly do you want to be with your employee? I
Yeah,
mean, in a like you don't want to be buddies because you are their, you're their boss potentially, and so
sure.
that's a big one that pops out. Another one is that I'm thinking of is working hours. So let's say that we say, okay, everybody gets half a day off today. Everybody has a half day off just because it's a beautiful day and all that stuff. So, as the leader, should you take a half a day off too and not send any emails to your employees? That's that's
Yes.
that's hard for
Yeah.
every. It was hard for me anyway not to do, and then I kept getting told, Kathy, if you gave everybody the day off, then you can't send emails because you're sending mixed messages. So there's
Yeah.
those kinds of things too.
Yeah. That's really good. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? What are some boundaries when you think of when you hear that word? What are some thoughts that come to your mind? All right. Well, to Kathy's point, there are definitely professional boundaries, and these define appropriate interactions and behaviors in the workplace. Like Kathy said, we're coworkers. That doesn't mean that we're going to be best friends. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be best friends, but it doesn't mean that I have to share everything in my life. There's the professional boundaries that have to do with roles. You know, a leader can only share so much. When I was pastoring, there were times where I didn't have anybody that I could talk to about some of the things that were going on in the church because I couldn't talk to the people that I was leading. It would have crossed a boundary. And so recognizing what some of those professional boundaries are. There's of course physical boundaries that relates to personal space and touch. I was at a networking event the other day and I was talking with somebody and she stood really close to me. She was like really close. I was like, whoa. I kept kind of taking a little, I just kind of like would lean back a little bit, but physical boundaries, not everybody has the same set of boundaries. And so you can kind of read how other people do that. And then emotional boundaries involve protecting our emotions and our feelings. And those are okay. It's good for us to have those kinds of boundaries. So understanding these types helps us better navigate our interactions and maintain our well-being. So let's talk about some practical steps. Here we go. Here's the meat of today's presentation. We're going to discuss some practical tips for setting and communicating boundaries effectively. First of all, be clear and specific. It's essential to clearly articulate your expectations and limits to both colleagues and to clients. I worked for a company and I used to tell them because they supported clients all around the world. And I said, in your email signature line, you need to put the hours that you're available because then you set clear expectations for them on when they can expect to have a response from you, when they can expect for you to interact with them. And so we have to be clear about the expectations. When establishing boundaries, be precise about what is acceptable and what is not. For example, if you need uninterrupted time to complete a certain task, communicate this clearly and specifically. Communicate the time frame during which you're unavailable. Let them know why you're unavailable and let them know when you expect to be back available. Being explicit, it helps others understand your needs and reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings. Have you ever had been frustrated because of unmet expectations? You know, you're out working and you're going to do something and you thought that you've communicated, you thought that everybody understood that you weren't going to be available, and then you get this text like, where the heck are you? I've been trying to get a hold of you. I sent you this email. I need you to answer. And then there's just frustration on both parts because there wasn't clear communication and about your boundaries for your time. If boundaries are crossed, don't hesitate to reinforce them firmly but kindly, ensuring that everyone is aware of the established guidelines. You know, if this is new to your organization, if this is a new aspect that you're bringing to your leadership, there's going to be mistakes. And even if you've been working together for 20 years, there's going to be mistakes. And when that happens, just make sure that you communicate with compassion and empathy. And hey, maybe I didn't communicate this clearly, but I'm not available right now, and I can get back to you at whatever this time. Okay. Assert your boundaries respectfully. Asserting your boundaries requires a balance of firmness and respect. Use I statements to convey your needs and preferences because that helps in expressing yourself without sounding accusatory. When you make it come from yourself, as opposed to, well, you're always interrupting me. Rather than saying that, it's, I need some quiet time to focus on my work. That's going to promote a better relationship and then a better respect of your boundaries. It emphasizes your own experience, and it will minimize the defensiveness in others. It's important to stand by your boundaries without feeling the need to apologize or justify them. Remember, prioritizing your well-being is crucial, and setting boundaries is a vital part of self-care. Now, consistency is the cornerstone of maintaining healthy boundaries. So once you establish a boundary, adhere to it steadfastly, even in the face of challenges. I used to tell my kids, do not interrupt me. The only thing that you can interrupt me for is if somebody is bleeding profusely or somebody's dead. And they're like, okay, we won't bother you. Setting those boundaries and staying consistent with them, because inconsistency, that undermines your efforts. If people know that you're like, oh yeah, I'm not available, unless this happens, then I can be available. And then somebody sends you a text and you respond back to it. All of a sudden you have undermined all that effort, and it's created confusion. Like, is she really not available? Are they kind of available? Are they only available on text? Like, what does that mean? And so then when that happens, people go by default, they go back to just ignoring the boundaries that you set. And then that perpetuates the cycle. You're frustrated because you feel like you set boundaries, but you didn't stay consistent with them. And so your team is frustrated because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what you actually mean. And so making sure that you set them clearly, communicate them well, and then stay consistent. Whether it's a busy period at work or a high stress situation, maintaining your boundaries consistently reinforces their importance, and it encourages others to respect them. Now, over time, this consistency helps build a culture of mutual respect and understanding, making it easier for everyone to navigate their interactions and responsibilities. By incorporating these practical tips into your daily routine, you can effectively set and maintain boundaries that protect your well-being and enhance your personal and professional relationships. Clear communication, respectful assertion, and unwavering consistency are the key to creating a balanced and healthy work environment. Anybody have a story of when one of those three things worked for them?
I guess this is Kathy, and all I would say is that when I actually did what I said I would do in terms of not emailing or not doing that, things were better. So that was my takeaway, and my learning of keeping the boundary.
Yeah,
And the other
that's
thing
good.
too is But I was thinking is it goes both ways. So the employee could have a boundary too, and the employer, I mean, to a certain extent, needs to respect that as well.
Absolutely. This conversation is not simply to say only leaders get to have boundaries. Everybody gets to have boundaries. Um, and so, yeah, great point. Thanks for bringing that up. Setting and maintaining clear boundaries is vital for protecting your own well-being and fostering a healthy, respectful work environment. So one of the most significant benefits is the reduction of stress. And who doesn't want to have that when they come to work? When you clearly define what is acceptable and what is not, then you can prevent people encroaching, and you prevent that encroachment of work-related pressure into your personal space and into your time. This separation allows you to recharge and maintain a healthier work-life balance, which is essential for your overall mental and physical health. In addition to reducing stress, clear boundaries, it actually enhances productivity. When you set limits on your availability and focus, you create uninterrupted periods for deep work, leading to higher efficiency and better quality output. And by managing your time and your energy more effectively, you complete tasks more quickly and with greater precision. And clear boundaries help prevent burnout, ensuring that you remain motivated and engaged in your work over the long term. There is nothing like sitting down and going, okay, I have 5 things on my to-do list, and I'm just going to shut everything out, and I'm going to turn everything off, and I'm just going to focus. And being able to sit and have that time to check off those things and be super laser focused, knowing that everything else is taken care of in the background. And then you come out of that more energized. You might have just checked off 5 things off your to-do list, but there's still a high level of an energy, because it's like, yes, look at what I've accomplished. Look at what I've done. Look at the tasks that I've completed, and the things that this has done to make work better and make my life better. So yeah, boundaries are super, super good. And then maintaining boundaries contributes to a positive workplace culture. When everyone understands and respects each other's limits, and just like Kathy was saying, this is for everybody. It's not just leaders who get to have boundaries, but it fosters this environment of mutual respect and understanding. The atmosphere actually reduces conflicts and misunderstandings, because, you know, like I said, there's nothing like the frustration of unmet expectations. And that usually comes because somebody's crossed a line, somebody's crossed a boundary that maybe they didn't know about, that wasn't expressed. And so when you can have that in place, it just fosters this energy in the room and within the team. This positive environment, it leads to increased job satisfaction, higher morale, lower turnover rates, and it creates a more stable and supportive workplace for everyone. So let's take a moment to reflect on the boundaries that you currently have in place. Consider any areas where you may need to set new boundaries or reinforce existing ones. Feel free to jot down your thoughts, or if you want to share them here, or maybe once we get this recording up on YouTube, you can leave a comment on the YouTube recording. But make sure that you take some time, take some time with this exercise to think about the boundaries that you have. Are they appropriate? Are they too fenced in? Are they keeping you too blocked from the people around you? Do you not have any boundaries? Do you just kind of go with the flow and just let people have access to whatever? What are those boundaries? What do you have in place?
I mean, the only thing I would mention is I need to do a better job with that.
Yeah.
So I've always been, you know, be I've always tried to be available to my employees, whenever. And that isn't necessarily the right thing to do. And it also causes some issues within myself, because then you're interrupted so many times you don't get things done. So it is really important to carve out that time, and it's time management is really what it is. And
Yeah.
so anyway.
Yeah. When I was coaching a client, we were coaching on issues like delegation and time management. And I said, what would happen if you actually went into your office and closed your door? Do you think you'd have people quit? She said, of course not. And I said, do you think that you would have people think bad about you? Like think you were a snob or a cruddy boss? And she said, no. And I said, so then why not build that practice into your day or into your week, where even for 30 minutes or an hour a day, you go into your office, you close your door, because that becomes a boundary. That's a physical boundary.
Mhm.
And with a closed door, you're letting people know, and you can put a sign on the door like, hey, please don't interrupt me right now or whatever. But yeah,
Did she do it?
she did. Yeah,
And
she
it
did.
worked
I
for
was
her?
so proud of her. So proud of her. In fact, she ended up, um, her biggest issue was delegation and feeling like she had to do everything. Um, and she ended up, we worked together and we worked on setting some boundaries about what she was, the expectations she was putting on herself, and then the expectations that others were putting on her because of how she had been behaving. So we talked through that, and then she was making really great progress. And then her father and her father-in-law died within like 2 weeks of each other. She was away from work for a month,
Oh.
and she came back and her team had handled everything. And, there were no phone calls to her. She got to fully be focused on what was going on with her family.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. So let's talk in our closing minutes. Let's talk about strategies for overcoming boundary challenges. So maintaining boundaries can sometimes be challenging, but let's talk about how to develop some effective strategies that can help you navigate those difficulties with confidence. So, first of all, communicate proactively. Proactive communication is key to preventing boundary issues before they even arise. Setting clear expectations, just like we said, early on with your colleagues, your supervisors, your clients. For example, if you need to leave work at a specific time to attend personal responsibilities, communicate this clearly to your team ahead of time. Regularly revisit these expectations in team meetings or one-on-one conversations to ensure that everyone remains on the same page. And by establishing these guidelines up front, you create a foundation of understanding that can prevent potential conflicts or misunderstandings down the line. The next thing to do is seek support. When facing challenges in maintaining your boundaries, seeking support from supervisors, peers, that's incredibly beneficial. They might have better success than you. You can ask them, like, what do you do that's been working? How do you make that work? Don't hesitate to discuss your concerns with your manager or with HR department, whatever. If you feel like your boundaries are being compromised, they can provide guidance, they can mediate conflicts, or they can even help you. They can be like, you know what, I'm going to partner with you. I'm going to be your buddy in this, and I'm going to help you enforce your boundaries within this workplace. And talking to a trusted colleague can always offer emotional support and practical advice based on their own experiences. So, building a network of support within your organization can help you feel more empowered to uphold your boundaries and navigate difficult situations. And then engage in regular self care. Self care is an essential component of maintaining boundaries and overall well being. Regularly engaging in activities. Kathy and I were talking before we started the recording about what we're doing this summer and what are the things that we do to recharge. So, regularly engaging in activities that replenish your energy and reduce stress can help you stay resilient in the face of boundary challenges. Now, this might include exercise, meditation, hobbies, or spending time with loved ones. Make self-care a non-negotiable part of your routine and ensure you allocate time for it just as you would for any other important task. and surround it with boundaries so that you make sure to actually get to do it. By prioritizing your own health and well-being, you strengthen your ability to set and maintain boundaries effectively, making it easier to handle the demands of your professional and personal life. And then make sure that you set realistic boundaries. It's important to set boundaries that are attainable. Understand your limits and don't overextend yourself. For instance, if you know that working beyond a certain number of hours per week leads to burnout, make it a point to adhere to that limit. Communicate those boundaries clearly to your team and stick to them. Realistic boundaries are more likely to be respected by others and maintained by you, which leads to a more sustainable balance. And practice assertiveness. Being assertive is crucial when it comes to maintaining boundaries. When I'm talking about assertiveness, I'm not talking about being rude. I'm not talking about being mean, but I am talking about standing up for yourself and saying, this is my boundary. Hey, I am not available at this time. Again, practice expressing your needs and limits confidently and respectfully. Using that clear, direct I statements to communicate your boundaries without placing blame. For example, I need to leave by 5 p.m. in order to manage my personal responsibilities. That is clear and it's respectful. Regularly practicing assertiveness can make it easier to enforce your boundaries consistently. And I know for some people that's really a challenge. It's hard for them to feel assertive. They feel like, oh, do I have the right to do this? Is this allowed? Boundaries are not just static. They may need to be adjusted over time as situations and relationships evolve. Regularly review and reinforce your boundaries to ensure that they remain effective and relevant. Thank you so much for participating in today's session. I hope that you know that you can go and you can watch this recording over again on YouTube. You can share it with others. Remember, maintaining healthy boundaries is essential for your well-being and the well-being of those around you. Recognize and appreciate the effort that you put into this. I'm Jill Valdez, founder of Link Consulting. I would love to connect with you and be a resource for you. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can also go to linkconsulting.info. When you go there, you'll have the opportunity to download for free my ebook called Confident Leadership: How to Be a Confident Leader of a Committed Team Providing Stellar Service. And I hope that you find great encouragement in that as well. We invite you to join us every Thursday where we meet for lunch and learn for leaders and those who want to be, free on Zoom. And again, we put this recording up on YouTube as well. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.